The program is still relatively new. It is I think, been a success. Things are going very well. We're reaching a lot of folks, not only through the inspections, of which we did about almost 8,000 last year, but also reaching folks that are not boat users but are stopping by the inspection stations and getting education on exactly what the program is for, why we're inspecting the boats with the goal of protecting Lake Whatcom, preventing the spread of the invasive species. So with Council's approval, we would like to move forward once again with this interlocal agreement, as well as the second interlocal agreement with the county. And Claire and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. We did get some questions from Councilmember Weiss, and I'd be happy to go through those if you would like.
Thank you, Ted. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Jack sent some questions via email on Friday, and it had to do with the funding of the program. And as you know, we set the inspection fees. We have a seasonal fee of $50 for a motorized boat and a $10 fee for non-motorized, and there's some opportunities to get some discounts on that if you go through the training program. And over the last couple of years, there has been discussion with Council on whether or not this program should be self-supporting, meaning that it should be fully supported through the inspection fees themselves. And as Jack pointed out in his email to me, I think Council has been pretty clear that that is the goal, that over time the Council would like to see the inspection fees pay for the program. And we're not at that point yet. The fees as established require the funding from the city and county and the district. And I think that the administration has been pretty clear in our position as well, in that this is still a new program. It's a program that we're still learning a little bit about. This will be the first year where we're not adding a major component. Last year, which was the second year of the program, we added the non-motorized, we added some education components, online components, as well as inspections at Lake Samish. And we're still understanding the program in terms of the cost and our ability to deliver it at the level that we would like to. I think at this point, the most important thing is that we have participation and compliance. It really is all about protecting Lake Whatcom. We're trying to prevent the spread of invasive species. And the way to do that, in our opinion, is to have people comply, participate in the program, launch their boats at Blodell Donovan, at the other launches that are staffed. And we're trying to set a fee that really promotes that. It promotes people going and being part of the program. And I would like to say that given where we were 3 years ago, 4 years ago maybe, when the discussions of starting this program first started, to where we are now, I think is a real success story to get the county on board and adopt an ordinance, get the county to support the fees, and do the number of inspections and outreach that we are completing each year. I'm hesitant to push too hard on a full cost recovery at this point, because we do want people to be willing to come down, get inspected, launch where we want them to launch in a controlled way. It really is all about protecting the lake, and that is the best way to do that. Give it another year or two. We understand the Council's direction that you would like to see this move towards full cost recovery. But at this point, we're recommending, or actually the administration sets the fees. That's the way the program was set up. We're keeping them at the same rate for 2015. We also believe, and as you know, that this is on the Council's legislative agenda, aquatic invasive species. We still believe that the state has a role in this program. This is not a local program. It's a statewide initiative. We're trying to stop the spread of invasive species from other states, the Northwest, throughout the United States, coming into Lake Whatcom. And the state has a role in that, and they acknowledge that. There's no funding at this point, but we continue to hope that there will be. So with that, I mean, that really is the reason why we're keeping the rates where they are, because we think that's the best way to have an effective program. And the numbers really are supporting that folks are complying. I mean, the number of inspections that are being done, the number of outreaches that are happening, and the participation that we're getting with the various boating groups all throughout, the fishermen, the non-motorized, the kayak and canoe groups. Everybody really is starting to embrace the program, and I think that's a real positive. That was one question that Jack had, why the subsidy, and I think that I'm hoping that that's answering that question. Second question is, why is the county's contribution less than the city's? And you'll see at the next interlocal request for approval that the county's contribution in this interlocal is $70,000. And in talking to the county staff, last year they contributed $96,000. That was the up to. Neither jurisdiction spent that much. Last year, with the fees that we received, the local offset was $86,000 from the city, $86,000 from the county, because we received $120,000 in fees for people buying their permits. The county recognized that they didn't budget the appropriate amount in their initial budget. The staff has indicated that they will go back for a budget amendment asking for the additional amount so that their contribution would be the same as the city's, but they still need to do that budget amendment, and they haven't done it at this point. We wanted to move forward with the interlocal agreement since the program is started and underway. We would amend the interlocal agreement upon the county's budget amendment to add more revenue to the program. So the intent is that both parties, both the city and the county, would contribute the same amount of money to the program. And Jack had a question about the agenda bill, and we simply made a mistake and put consent agenda rather than committee briefing. So, and any other questions that the council has about either one of the interlocals or the program in general, either Claire or myself hopefully can answer your questions.
Questions? Jack?
So Ted, I'm really uncomfortable with approving this today. I understand your answers to my questions. I feel like they're somewhat, well, at least the answer to your first question is somewhat incomplete, because I really would like to understand why this money, the $100,000 from the city, apparently is in the budget, but we never, the council, who has got the authority to approve the budget, we never really had that discussion for 2015 or for 2016. And I would like to have that resolved before we actually move forward.
Well, certainly the council did approve the budget. The budget has the revenue as indicated in these interlocal agreements. We budgeted $100,000 for permit fees. Again, last year we received $120,000, but conservative budgeting, we budgeted $100,000, and we budgeted the $70,000 from the county and the $50,000 from the district. The expenditures contained within the natural resources budget are the AIS inspection folks, so the regular non-benefited seasonal workers. The temporary budget is in there. So it's all in the water fund budget. Council approved it. In terms of whether or not we spoke specifically about it, at one point, and I haven't gone back to look at or I guess listen to the video or the audio of the budget meetings, but I certainly was asked during the budget process, and I think by you, Jack, as to whether or not we were going to raise the rates, the fees, at which time I gave the same answer I just gave, that no, we weren't going to. And the reason why was because we're still trying to establish the program. But we did hear that council wants to move towards full cost recovery, so I acknowledge that. The administration just believes that that's premature at this point, given the fact that the program is still establishing itself, and we believe that raising the fees from the $50 to $100 or whatever it might take would be detrimental to the success of the program, which is really all about protecting the lake. We want participation, we want compliance. At this point, I believe that's more important than full cost recovery, given the money we spend to protect the lake.
Okay, I understand what your view is on that. I guess I would like to make a motion to postpone the approval of well, I guess we're going to do this one at a time, but the very first one that we have to deal with is with the county, to postpone the approval of the county interlocal with the city until we receive additional information. Ted, well, okay, so I'll lay these out, but first of all, I just think that it's very uncomfortable for us sitting up here as a council to understand now that we approved something that was in a line item that was kind of buried in our budget without really a full explanation. We have gone through this. This is like the third or fourth time that we've gone through this discussion about full cost recovery associated with this program. And it isn't one that I think that, I'm speaking for the rest of the council that was participating in that conversation, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't something that we were going to wait for, the fourth year or the fifth year of the program. It was going to be one that we were going to do the following year, the second year of the program. And I think that the council was willing to go and understand that the first year of the program that we needed to get data. The issue associated with the hand-powered watercraft in the second year of the program, that's a legitimate issue. But at the same time, I feel like that didn't have anything to do. I mean, we never really tested what the fee schedule would be compared to the participation rate in the second year. And it sounds like we're not going to even try that in the third year. We're just going to roll the same fee schedule in the third year and just call it good. We don't understand that, and I don't want to see that would be the reason in the fourth year to say, we shouldn't go and do this because we don't know what the impact is going to be. Maybe this year is the year that we should understand what the impact is if we go from $50 to X dollars to find out what the overall participation rate is. Unless you have real solid survey results from the people that are participating in about what would it take for them not to participate in the program, I think that we're really kind of, we really don't know. And it's detracting from, I think, the overall council directive and goals that we've been, hoping for, which is not to have the ratepayers of the community subsidize recreational boat use. That's really what we're talking about. And, I'm sympathetic to the people that would like to go and use the lake, but at the same time, there is a true cost associated with it. We don't go and, you can pick whatever type of activity. We don't go and expect somebody that has absolutely no interest in wanting to subsidize that to be expected to go and pay for that, whatever that activity is, and I don't think that's appropriate for this one. So I feel like until we get some additional information, I feel like it would be appropriate to postpone this. So my motion is to postpone this particular item until we get until the council really has an opportunity to discuss this budget issue, the $100,000, and whether or not that's an appropriate amount for the city ratepayers to pay. And the second, I think maybe for the council to provide a clearer direction about exactly when we would like to see full cost recovery, what kind of time schedule, because I think we were fairly insistent, but at the same time, I guess we never really provided real firm direction. So maybe that's what we need to do as a council. The third, I would like to see us have the council have a full program budget about what is similar to what you've provided in the past, of how much this program costs, where the revenues are coming from, but more importantly, where the expenses are going, how many FTEs are being used, and for what part of the season it's going to be, and what the operational issues are associated with the overall program, just for information. And it sounds like you're not going to deal with fees, but whether or not, just to include, I guess, the schedule of fees as well would be another thing. And then you're saying that the county will provide an extra $30,000 based on a budget amendment that they are going to have in the future. I'm wondering whether or not we should just approve that particular interlocal versus this one here, which is a partial one. So that's my motion with conditions.
Okay. Motion's been made to postpone passing this ordinance as relates to funding the AIS. Is there further discussion, questions? Pinky?
I'm feeling confused right now. I'm curious, if we were to postpone funding, is that going to halt the program going forward right now?
No, we're going to continue to do the program. It's in the budget right now. So council adopted the budget that accepted the revenue that is being proposed in these interlocal agreements and approved the expenditures. So we're underway. We're doing work right now. We'll continue to do the work. Our primary goal is to protect Lake Whatcom. That's the administration's primary goal. That's the Public Works Department, who's responsible for drinking water for half the county. No one wants to protect the lake more than us. I mean, I'm ultimately responsible for the lake. And so our goal was to have a successful program. We certainly understood the council's direction to move towards cost recovery, but we're going to do that in a way that still allows the program to be successful because we want to protect the lake. We want to prevent the spread of invasive species. That is the goal of the program.
A couple other things. So I just did some quick calculations, and granted they're simple, but if our budget is $363,000 and we had 8,000 participants last year, that would mean that it cost us $45 per inspection. Granted, some are only paying the $10 and some are paying $50, but it still seems like it should be paying for itself if you look at those numbers. So I'm kind of curious about the discrepancy between that. It looks like it should be able to pay it for itself, or at least for the city to have a reduced amount of money on it. And I'm not sure how I would feel about not approving this because we have already approved it, but I do think that Jack's concerns around how we're running the program, and I am curious to look at what kind of process improvements we're doing on this AIS inspection program. Are we being as lean as possible? Are we taking the lessons learned every year and finding ways to tune this and make it less costly for all of us? I think that every year there should probably be some sort of checks and balances that's saying, yes, we're going to reduce here, or this has been improved there. So I do think that that is something that we should be looking at, and are we finding ways to save money and do this more cost effectively so it can start to pay for itself. But I'm actually unsure whether or not I want to halt funding at this point, because I think this program is important for our continued protection of Lake Whatcom.
Questions relates to the sustainability of this program. So we're at $120,000 here in, it was 8,000 inspections, I believe, maybe not 8,000 participants, but 8,000 inspections. So roughly a third of total program cost. How do we get to be 100% sustainable? How does that, what's the target date for that, and how does that happen? Is it a mix of increased fees? What's the goal there?
Yeah, I think that is true, and I think that was a good distinction that you made. 8,000 inspections, not necessarily 8,000 permits sold. So, and all of this information is in the annual report that we presented to you. It's available online. But last year, the city received $123,000 in inspection fees. And so there was a combination of annual permits, which are $50, but as I just mentioned, if you take the online course, you get a reduction in that fee, so you get a $10 discount on that. And then there was 414 three-day passes. Some people don't want to pay for the whole year. That's a $20 fee. And then the non-motorized was the first year of it. We did 2,500 passes, but you could get them for free if you took the online course. So how do we get to a fully sustainable program? It is through a combination of fees generated through the program. It's on the council's legislative agenda to try to get state funding for this program. So through outside funding sources, whether it's appropriations through the state or grants, and as Councilmember Vargas mentioned, always trying to reduce our expenditures. It is you're staffing a location, so you have to have staff at a boat launch for the entire hours of operation. So there's certainly a minimal staffing amount at the locations that we inspect, but there's always ways we can look to improve the process. That's how we get there. The timing of it, we don't have a date to which we think this program will be fully funded by fees and rates generated through the program. but yet we're continuing to try to make it a more successful program as we move forward. I think it's easy to forget that 3 years ago there was a discussion about whether or not we close below El Donovan and send all the boats down to South Bay and launch down there, which thankfully we were able to work through that process, because that would have certainly been to the detriment of the lake. And we're able to implement a program that has inspected the number of boats that it has. So while it seems like it's been going on for a long time, it hasn't, and we've made tremendous progress over a 3-year period. That's all staff is saying, is let's continue to build on the program, going from a $50 to $100 or whatever it might be. We don't believe is the best way to move the program forward. It's as much of an education program as it is inspection program. We've touched a lot of people that have stopped by the inspection booths that had no knowledge at all of invasive species and now are understanding why we're going through this process. The fees are set by the administration. That's the way the council adopted the ordinance. So we're going to set the fees where we think is most appropriate, and that's going to be keeping it at the fees we had last year for at least one more year, and we'll evaluate it this year. And if we want to make changes or we think it's best to propose changes in 2016, we'll certainly let the council know. All of the questions that Jack asked about the budget are online. They're in the annual report that was presented to council, and I can send you the link to the website, and you can look and get all the information that Jack was asking for.
Jack.
You do have in front of you, Ted, the number of participants or number of annual permits that were issued last year?
2,327.
Okay, thank you. And then when did the program this year start?
April 26th.
Okay, great.
Michael.
Thanks. So the motion that Jack made for the committee had several parts to it. A lot of those were informational. But I'm wondering, Jack, how important is the one issue which is most directly related to this, which is this is an up to $70,000, and that's not their half, and they'll need to do a budget amendment. Is that one of the larger sticking points? Because, for example, if I was on the committee, I might, I think will ask, vote to delay implementation until we have a full number there in the interlocal. So I guess my question, Ted, maybe if you know it, is when are they planning on doing this budget amendment over on the county level? Is that a near-term thing, we'll get it done next week, or we've got to wait until August for this or that reason?
I don't have a date.
Okay. Because this is all about the interlocal, and when there's the wrong numbers in here right now. Staff admits that. Sounds like the county admits that. The question is, do we approve the wrong number and amend the interlocal, or just simply wait until the right number can be included?
Okay, further questions? All right, in the interest of time, I'm going to call for a vote. The vote was to delay this bill number 20834. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, mixed recommendation. We'll bring that forward tonight. Second item is a.
We were voting on his motion, but then there's the interlocal agreement, right?
Postpone the first interlocal, which is with the county. That takes us to the second interlocal, which is with the Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District. This provides for a shared subsidy of boat inspection related AIS services during 2015. Public Works will provide these services on behalf of Lake Whatcom Management Program. And Ted, you want to speak to this?
It really is very similar to the previous one. The Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District's contribution is $50,000. It's the same as last year, this interlocal, and it is what's represented in the adopted budget. So the interlocal agreement would just allow that revenue to come to the city of Bellingham for implementing the program.
Jack?
I'd like to make a similar motion on this one, similar to the last one of postponing the Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District interlocal, with the similar conditions that I had stated in the previous motion.
Okay. Questions? Thank you.
Same comment. I think that these budget discussions are very worthwhile, and I I do see it purposeful for us to go down this road, but I also feel like we should move forward. So I am going to approve.
Okay. All right, so motion's been made to delay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Yeah.
Okay, mixed recommendation, we'll bring that forward tonight. Third item on the agenda as relates to Lake Whatcom is Lake Whatcom Policy Group met last week. That group consists of representatives from the Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District, the Whatcom County Council, the Sudden Valley Community Association, and the Bellingham City Council. We meet once a month to discuss issues that are on the lake. The items that we talked about last week were in relation to the Lake Whatcom Build-Out Report 2015. Staff presented a brief overview of recent acquisition program activity. In 2015, a large property near Galbraith Mountain is being targeted for possible acquisition. In 2016, additional properties totaling between 40 and 60 acres are possible. In 2017, the acres to be acquired may go up, given that the acquisition fund will have more dollars available for land purchases. Staff presented a summary of the Lake Whatcom Watershed Annual Build-Out Analysis Report. In reporting this, commercial forestry lands are excluded from developable lot tally, as are public lands and facilities such as roads. Lots held by the Sudden Valley Community Association are also removed. Most of the potentially developable properties in the city and its urban growth area are 15,000 square feet or smaller. In Sudden Valley, most lots are under 7,200 square feet. In the rural county, most lots are between 20,000 square feet and 5 acres. As relates to forestry activities in 2014 and forestry issues, staff reviewed recent forestry activities in the watershed. An interjurisdictional committee, or IJC, reviews forestry activities on public lands in the watershed, including logging, thinning, road building, and application of herbicides. In 2014, no new sales were authorized on DNR lands, although some logging continued from prior sales. 2014 activities included thinning and the application of herbicides in the Olson Creek area. While the Lake Whatcom reconveyance transferred some lands from the DNR to the county and thus removed them from large-scale commercial forestry uses, there are still substantial numbers of acres in the northwest and southwest portions of the watershed that are under DNR control and that could be logged in the future. We also discussed some agendas for upcoming meetings. The policy group and staff talked about some possible topics, including an annual review of residential retrofit program, review of tributary monitoring data and watershed modeling, and a presentation on management options for City of Bellingham's Nooksack diversion program. Councilwoman Vargas asked for a more robust examination of the communication plan for 2015. Staff responded that Councilwoman Vargas and myself would be help to be involved in that process to provide some perspective from council. That is the end of that report and end of committee.
Thank you, Dan.
I have one question from Councilman Vargas.
I just wanted to add one point. We did discuss the public feedback from the annual meeting. One of the things that we came to consensus on, and realizing that there is a need for us to provide a basic graphic that shows where we are in regard to the status of our lake. Are we doing good, better, worse? Where are we, and where are our goals? So we did discuss the need for that, and we'll be finding a solution.
Okay, thanks
We
for
will
that.
be hearing, Dr. Robin Matthews will be here in June. Do you have a date? Do we have a date, Mark?
In July.
July.
I think it's the first meeting in July.
Okay. We will be hearing from her in July. Thank you, Dan. We will now take a minute break before we go to our next committee